Next up, we're going to take some more lessons from these seasoned entrepreneurs and specifically look at making a positive impact on the world. We talk about the circular economy and what does it mean when you're entrepreneuring, when you're venturing into that field. I'm going to talk to Piet Briët of Milgro, but before we talk to him, let's first find out what Milgro actually does. So for those of you who studied the program and the website carefully, might now expect Tom Buckham, the CEO of Milgro, with me here in these seats. Unfortunately, due to personal circumstances, he cannot be with us here today. But instead of the CEO, we have the manager of the CEO with us, Piet Briët. Piet, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you too.
The manager of the CEO, what does that title mean?
It means a lot, I can tell you that. Anyway, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Great to be here. Managing the CEOs, yeah, actually more specifically, I manage around 15 CEOs, meaning circular economy officers.
Exactly.
But then indeed I do have 2 CEOs above me.
Exactly. It's a pun on words, but it's a funny one, and especially in this context. Now, you didn't graduate from Delft, but you actually graduated from Leiden University in tax law back in 2001, and you started your career in several commercial roles, more in the energy and logistics industry. But around 2015, you really started to focus on your passion, the circular economy, and making businesses more sustainable. And only recently, 6 months ago, you joined Milgro in this new role as managing the circular economy officers. We're going to find out what you run into, what you learn when you try to, first of all, work in a very interesting industry, waste management, and also when you try to push for circularity. But first, we just saw a very short clip. I think it's important to first clarify a bit more about what Milgro actually does. Because when I look on the website, I see 30–40% growth. Why does it grow so fast? I see clean tech. What type of technology are we talking about? Can you explain a little bit about Milgro?
Yeah, I'll give it my best shot, of course. Just to keep in mind for the next 10–15 minutes, that waste is actually only a resource that has got lost along the way. That will make the explanation be more understandable. So waste is only a resource that got lost along the way. We are a clean tech company, and why is that so? We are actually a connector between the companies who want to dispose their waste, also called used resources, and in between the receivers of those resources. And the disruptive thing about it is that there seems to be a place for us in that chain. So formerly there was a company who wanted to get rid of its waste, had some other current competence, and there are the main receivers that have their incineration and recycle installations. And we are in between taking over the waste management of the companies and actually collecting the data on those resources, waste, and steering them in the most sustainable and profitable direction relating to the circularity ladder.
Okay, a lot of big words. Let's first elaborate a little bit on the tech side. The clean tech, it's not some kind of a waste sorter, it's not a mechanical technology, it's a digital technology to monitor and steer these waste streams and then upcycle them. What does the technology do?
The technology works for us. And that means the brains working at Milgro, the circular economy officers and also the waste engineers, they decide which is the most profitable and the most sustainable way where to steer those resources. That could mean that a certain company gets rid of a certain stream in November, and by repetition over years, we know exactly on which date what kind of stream and resources become available, and that we know that company B would like to invest in some sort of product in December. And if we could connect those two, and if their ambition is that from 2030 onwards, they would only like to work with secondary materials, so no virgin material, only secondary, then we can guide those.
Exactly. So you provide transparency in that waste market for companies who are looking for new resources to actually see where and how they can obtain them.
Exactly.
Then I also see on your website, and we like that in the Entrepreneurship Day Delft, growing 30-40% a year. Why is Milgro growing so fast?
Good question. So the pie chart is large enough. There's a place for us, but there are several reasons. Mostly it's related to the motivations of the company who want to get rid of their waste. That could be cost-driven, but it could also be, as you mentioned just before, transparency. They are accountable on the resources. Just as they are accountable on their financial performance, they are also asked about their accountants or by NGOs or by consumers. What do you do with your product? What do you do with the waste of your products? And that's where we step in. We have control. We are in control of their waste streams. We know exactly where they're coming from and where they're going to, and we can provide that through dashboarding to the disposers and make them happy so that they can report to their accountants or to others who are interested in where those streams are going.
Exactly. Society is asking for these companies to be transparent, and you are providing that transparency.
Exactly. And the bonus is that we know the best way where these streams should go to.
Let me, in the meantime, invite our viewers. We are live. I'm keeping my eyes on the chat as well. So if you have a question about Milgro, about circular economy, about entrepreneuring in a circular context, please make sure you submit your questions via the chat, and I will relay them on your behalf. Now let's see, Milgro, you are quite new at Milgro, but Milgro actually originates from a company that was founded by Laurens Groen, a familiar name in sustainable entrepreneurship in the Netherlands, 27 years ago already. So what are some of the key lessons that he has obtained when he was moving into this industry?
Exactly. So 27 years ago, he started moving around and getting interested into what we called waste back then. Today, we are still relatively small, so 100 people, around 100 employees, and considered a scale-up. So let's say about 26 years, it took him and the company to get where we are now. And one of the main lessons he taught me in the only 6 months I've joined the company is to be flexible. To be flexible towards your own thinking. So your ambitions, what would you like to be? Where do you want to go to? But also be flexible towards the surrounding. So that you are able to obtain and to learn from what the markets want, what the government wants from you, and to be flexible to improve yourself and give the best answer, the most ambitious answer, and then also related to what sustainability is about, people, planet, profit, and obtain their trust and, preview on chances which come by. And it all relates back to being flexible to be able to see those.
Yeah, see the opportunities, jump into them, and especially now, apparently the market is opening up. Society is demanding that we become more circular. Now that relates very much to your personal journey in the last few years as well. Earlier today, we had Huib Morelissen stress to our audience. Well, actually, I now remember you didn't hear that well, but for those viewers in recordings, they'll know. Be purposeful, right? If you're entrepreneurial, make society a better world. Circular economy could be an area where you start to work in. What are some of the challenges and barriers that you run into if you start to work on the theme of circular economy?
Yeah, so there are actually two challenges. One is the circular economy, and the other one is being an entrepreneur, right? And wanting to make profits and also wanting to be purposeful. Another lesson from Laurens is that try to stick to your purpose, not only in your mind but also financially. So if you're able to enter to take away your company without having others invest, that could be banks or others, do that, even if that means a slower growth.
Really?
The good thing about this, in his opinion, is that you can stay very close into what you would like to do, instead of others having part of the control of your company and wanting to have a say into what you do. So that's one more thing. And the other thing about circularity and being purposeful, it helps when you, of course, have an intrinsic motivation to work in the field of sustainability. Sustainability is nothing of doing less good or doing less in general. It's actually about doing better. It's about being able to sustain, about being future-proof. So wanting to act in the circular economy is trying to get loose, and in the near future, I would say to get rid of the linear economy.
Yeah.
If we want to move...
What is the biggest hurdle there? Is it bending the end of the linear line back to the beginning, or is it actually at the beginning making people aware that they could use used materials as resources? Where's the biggest challenge?
Yeah, great question. It's the second one. So it's not about at the end trying to bend it. It's rethink about what you want to do. And the linear economy is about make, waste, and then a great pile of resources is lying there. Circular economy, of course, we don't know. We don't know waste anymore. It's about rethinking. But the important thing I would like to add to the purpose driven you were telling about before is that we should no longer compare the circular economy to the linear economy.
Okay. In what way do you mean that?
The linear economy is mostly profitable just on the P of profit. It's not balancing people and planet. The circular economy is about balancing those three. Meaning not leaving out profit, not leaving out people and planet either. In the current linear, everything is about finance and the P of profitable. That's the biggest difference.
Oh, but that is... How would you say a young entrepreneur wanting to move into this area has to deal with that? Because on the one hand, I hear you say, your founder, Laurens Groen, no external investment, I'll rather go slower than give up my independency. At the same time, you see your KPIs need to be different, you need to focus also on people and planet. Yet investors that can give you the cash to actually scale quick and increase your impact might still be looking for the profit. Well, how do you get out of this catch-22?
Yeah, so first of all, might not try to define it as a catch-22, but leave it open. We are here in Delft. We are in the center of tech, of technology, of everything that can be done. We can make it work. So we can also make the circular economy work. Be open to it, be flexible, like I said before, and try not to do what has been done before, but try to do something new and make and let technology work for you. It's an answer which I hope the tech students will be able to interpret to what they would like to do and entrepreneur in.
And if we think about what ideas we need, if people are watching and they're not sure, they like this entrepreneurial spirit, they like the purpose of the circular economy, you already just mentioned the key problem is actually at the start of the chain, people not understanding that they can use, what is the term, second-hand materials. Is there a challenge for design, or what type of startups and entrepreneurial ideas do we need to really give that circular economy a boost? Where should people start to design?
Yeah, thanks. So after rethink, I would say design or redesign comes very quickly. So we should redesign current materials or current products, and the clever people out there, the students following this, will know that they have to design and keep in mind while designing what to do with the product at the end of the phase, of the end of the usage. And if they can design it in such a way or they'll have to design it in such a way that at the end of life, they can be offered to be able to reuse again, or take it apart in such a way that they won't destroy any resources, and so all resources can be put back into the economy.
Yeah.
That's the clever thing.
Yeah, and what we learned from this talk with you is, it might seem at first that you might not be as competitive or your product might be more expensive in the early days, but society is changing.
Exactly.
People are demanding for the circular economy.
Exactly.
Companies are being held up and held accountable. So this is the time to jump into that market.
Yeah, so not only the market is demanding, but also Europe is demanding by 2050 that we have a circular economy in Europe.
Exactly. I see an audience question from John Polonius. Thank you, John.
Yeah, sure.
And he's asking, so it looks like you're moving around waste. Does Milgro also keep in mind the distribution of CO2 emissions when waste is being transported? And
Exactly.
if so, how do you take that into the equation?
So we gather all data once we have taken over the waste management of a company. That means the resources, but also the transportation, all kind of logistics, all kind of waste falling from the band of a production line, for example. And we translate those data into information. And with that information, we can either take decisions or we can give them back to the companies and help them steering on their production lines or on their buying. Because if you can buy less, there will be less waste in the end
Exactly.
as well.
And the short answer to John is then also yes. And
Yes.
when we calculate, when we look at that profile of that company, we take both the waste streams, the resource streams, and the CO2 emissions transportation
Exactly.
all into account.
Exactly.
Interesting question.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Don. Looking at the future, where do you see that circular economy is going? Will all companies, all production companies at least, in the end will have to be circular? Or is this kind of a hype thing?
It's certainly not a hype. Circular economy is here to stay. It could mean that not all companies living today will be living by the day after tomorrow. So towards 2050. We know of companies who have set goals and have their ambitions that by 2030, they only want to be able to use secondary materials. So no longer virgin materials. That means a great question coming from the market. And we are going to deliver that.
Exactly.
And that's the cool thing about working at Milgro currently, is that we are working with the future. We are making it possible. We know these companies, they are our clients, and they're asking us to deliver by 2030 only secondary materials. And that's why we are starting today, or maybe 27 years ago, gather information on all the waste streams, turn them into resources, gather the data on those resources so we know where they're going, we know when they are coming, to be able to deliver by 2030 those clients.
Clear. That's what makes it so cool and exciting to work at Milgro, you say. What type of people is Milgro looking for when you're growing 30-40% a year? Perhaps some people studying here in Delft, watching. What are the type of careers that you're looking for?
So I would say at least diverse. As have studying law myself, have been working in a technical environment actually all my life. So nothing with law in practice. I'm quite sure that Delft delivers quite a few of our colleagues. So at this moment, I would say that if you're technology driven, if you are interested in the circular economy, if you're interested in getting a look into the future, into the glass bowl, then you're most welcome to let know that you are there.
Exactly. Milgro is the place to be.
Exactly.
Interesting. Well, thank you very much, Piet Briët, and thank you also for stepping in.